Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Relentless Pursuit, titled Self-Ate the Devil. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on YouTube. We're going to listen through it from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it. What have we got? And this is off of the Through Confusion album, if I'm not mistaken. Self-Ate the Devil. It's incredibly loud. It is incredibly loud. You can hear the distortion on the drums as well as the guitar parts, and I'm not sure how we're getting clarity from the guitar, but I like that bombastic tone from the drums. If it's a stylistic decision, I gotta show some love for them, man. It's also nice to have the growly and the screamy vocals. They fit well stylistically within the genre, and are a nice contrast to what we have going on with the frenetic tapping stuff as well as the drums. In my own despair, in my own fault and loss, now I only to redeem myself in you. Now it's so self-integrated enemy, I'm not sure if I'm getting some of these words through clearly, but I do like the points of space that we have here. Occasionally we have the instruments drop out, as you can hear here. And it's just nice to have a little bit of a refresher before we go back into the depths. So I want to talk about something really important. What I'd like us to do, if possible, because I am assuming that this album is released now, I'd like us to have a look at how the limiter is at the moment. Because it sounds to me like the limiter or the output bus is quite distorted there. Like we're really pushing that output bus to a point where even if we've got constant sub drops or something where I've noticed there are peaks, but earlier, it's just really intense here at this point. It's like, it's really exacerbated. I hear a lot of digital distortion and clipping here. I do like how we have the clean vocals come in here. I need you in my life. It's a lot easier to understand what's going on here. There's a bit more clarity to this part of the performance. See, that's a cool effect there. That shows some capacity for understanding how sort of audio manipulation and production works. So we're going like in fifths or something like that, or fourths, and sort of modulating between those different sequences for the verse and like the intro parts or something, or the main themes. Relentless Pursuit is Matthew Conrad. I mean, I like this piano part here. It finishes the track really nicely. It's really gorgeous. It's a really cute little string synth as well that we have here. I'm not quite sure how he's getting that tone, but you know, that's really nice and articulate. Self Ate the Devil, because this is the conclusion of my review of Self Ate the Devil by Relentless Pursuit. What is this track about? I'm not sure. I heard the parts where I need you in my life or something like that. But then at the end of that, he screams. So I'm kind of wondering if that's something to do with maybe, you know, being furious without that person, or maybe they're saying I need you in my life to then go do something like I don't know, get away or something like that. Maybe they've had like a turning point where like, I thought I needed you to be with me, but actually I need you to give me space and to sort of stay away from me like that. He was talking about like complicating himself, like complicating myself. I mean, if I'm totally honest with you, well, there wasn't a lot more I got from this. Well, like, I know that, you know, Relentless Pursuit, some of the growly parts are great. You know, he's got good technique. It's just that it's difficult to ascertain it with all of the other stuff going on in the mix. It's quite tight dynamically. There's not a lot of space between the guitar, drums, and the vocals. So it's a difficult thing to really sort of work around. Hopefully what I got of the track there in that first listen is even slightly close to what's going on in the track. Self Ate the Devil. I'm not quite sure what the context of that is, whether it's an overall theme throughout the album or something like that. I'm assuming it could be, but that's cool. Again, like, I think this is where maybe you might, like, if I was outside of the review process, I might listen to this track again, see if I get it a second time. Although, to be fair, again, the leveling was, you know, it was really tight. I liked the growly sort of screamed vocals there. I liked the tone of them and the timbre of them, and I think they worked well for the style of music they were doing. The clean vocals, I could see from the video that we understood sort of posture and everything like that, and I think that's just his tone of voice there, that clean side, and it's a big contrast to what we're doing with the more sort of screamy sort of vocal fryish kind of stuff. I think it was nice to have that contrast between the clean and growl vocals. I think that was a smart move there for different tones and different emotional sort of like different communication styles, different themes. It's great to contrast that, and that is something I've noticed through Relentless Pursuit's work. He does go between his cleans and his heavy stuff, and that's fine. I really like when he harmonizes and stuff, and it's a great range to be in because it sits atop really nicely the guitar, bass, and drums. I think I heard more of what was being said with the clean part than I did of the chorus. So I think it's just maybe just that some of the sort of the noise that was coming through from the growled screamed parts was matching a little bit too closely with some of the resonant frequencies within the other instruments of the accompaniment. The theme itself with the tapped bits was kind of dope there. I enjoyed hearing those. It was an alternative style, like a lot of palm muted kind of chugging sort of stuff. We have a lot of the tracks within the genre. It was a sense of freneticism to it and chaos and sort of madness to it, which I kind of appreciate. And although we modulated it down like 5 frets or so to go to between the 12 13s and the 5 6s. The drums were absolutely ferocious throughout. I mean, they did slow down a little bit occasionally, like for the clean bits. We had some really incredibly fast surging percussion there. It was just a shame that it peaked in the levels. You know, there were some parts where I think there were sub drops and they really sort of boom, you know, there was a bit of sort of clipping there. I couldn't really hear the bass that clearly. I think the bass was following the root notes or maybe going along with what the guitar was doing. And the guitars were actually reasonably well leveled. I like the tone of the guitars. I also like the tone of the drums. You know, I like the tones of the various instruments here, and I think that they were good choices with what Relentless Pursuit was doing with their vocal styles, both of them. At 3:36, I think this is perfectly fine lengthwise. You have some verses and some choruses and stuff like that. Well, actually, I don't know. I think we may have had one chorus, but you know, maybe it was more through composed because of that, but I don't necessarily mind that. It was nice to have the piano come in as well in those sort of hook sections where things were a bit cleaner, where there was more space. So we clearly understand not to shove too much in at the same time. I don't think it's an issue with the arrangement or anything like that. I think the arrangement's kind of interesting. I like how it sparkles at the end, especially with the synth strings and stuff like that later on. I think that the sound, the overall tone of it, with the roughness of the guitars, bass, and drums, and with the sweetness of the pianos and synths and stuff like that, matches well with the vocal tones shown. There's a great chemistry between instruments and vocals, and we clearly have an understanding of music theory and composition there. There's nothing innately wrong with it in terms of its own musicality. If there is anything, it's just the production, the recording, mixing, and mastering. The only main issue I have here from like an actual technical perspective is that we did have clipping on that output chain, whether it was within the tracks themselves, whether it was something we had before like the loudness meter and the master chain, or whether it was something we were pushing the hell out of it with the limiter. It was really loud. I don't know what kind of compression ratio we had across the different compressors in the master chain, It was ferocious. And again, I know that like a lot of bands nowadays want to have loud songs, and that's fine. But this was loud to the point where it was almost a detriment, because it wasn't actually like perceivably louder, in the sense that some stuff I listen to is loud without pumping because I pay really close attention to like scooping out those unnecessary resonant frequencies. But I think there was just a lower kind of bass resonance there that was kind of causing the loudest meter to sort of kind of crap itself. And then basically what happened is, again, there was clipping, and it happened in those sub drop parts and stuff like that. And part of that can come from mixing with headphones, for example. It's why it's good to have several different like listening spots, different ways of reviewing it. Like listen to a song through a car stereo before you put it up. I'm not saying that specifically to Relentless Pursuit, I assume they did that, but when you do master something, listen to it through as many sources as you can before sort of distributing it, because the last thing you want is to distribute it and then realize, oh, it sounds crap on a car stereo, because if it does, who knows what else it'll sound crap on, you know what I mean? And also phone speakers, because a lot of people are going to listen to music via phones, and also like kind of crappy Bluetooth headphones, you know what I mean? As many as you can. I really think the loudness, the distortion there, the auto clipping is the only really sort of main issue there. There are a few sort of bits of leveling with like some of the string counterparts then with the vocals. I think the bass drops, sub drops were like a little bit too loud for it, because I think that again, that is when we did have those issues with the distortion, at least earlier on, before like we had like blast beats and double kicks, and it got really just quite a lot. And don't get me wrong, like from a technical perspective, from like a songwriting perspective, this track is fantastic. I really enjoyed the way that the elements were combined. It's very unique, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. You know, it was a hell of a journey. It's just a shame that we had that clipping. The EQing and filtering of the various instruments, I did like how the vocals were done for the most part. The guitar sounded reasonably well done as well. I'm pretty sure the bass had some resonances in there. I'm pretty sure the drums did too. And again, the sub drops, I think we just maybe weren't aware of how loud they were through like in the sub bass range. So we kind of maybe underestimated how loud they needed to be. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Aside from that stuff, it was nice and wide in the stereo field, which is good. It surrounded the headphones, and aside from the resonant frequencies I mentioned, it was, you know, things are relatively well stacked. It's not like we didn't understand how to sort of layer things in a mix. The clipping is basically one of the main sort of downside to this track. Everything else is good. There's a lot of promise in this. Again, we've got most of the fundamentals sorted from like literally everything else. It's just the loudness meter next time, and just checking that before we post it, because there is audible clipping here. But I mean, effectively, this is my review of Relentless Pursuit's Self Hate the Devil. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and YouTube page, and stay cool, stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and us at this point in time, as they need to help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands Out.